Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today for my 10 cards 1 kit video featuring the June Love from Lizi card kit. The very first card that I'm going to be making here is using the brand new Love from Lizi stamp set. This is the very first Love from Lizi stamp set, so it's a pretty exciting time. So I'm excited to be using it today. It's really high quality photopolymer and they stamp beautifully. So I've gone ahead and stamped the stars onto a plain white background, and this is an extra piece of white card that I decided to use from my stash, and I'm going to stick it onto the white card base that I've made using the A4 paper from the kit. Now you could go ahead and just stamp this directly onto the card base, but I wanted to do it as an extra layer just to make things a little bit easier with my ink blending. So I stamped it all over in Versamark and I heat set that using a white embossing powder, and now I'm just using a couple of my distress inks to do a distress resist, or an emboss resist rather. So I'm using Dusty Concord, Mermaid Lagoon, Blueprint Sketch and Wilted Violet, and I'm just applying each one of those using a circular ink blending tool. So I like to keep a individual foam pad for these underneath my distress inks. They fit really nicely under the mini inks, and for the larger ink pads I just have a little piece of Velcro tape that I attach it to on the bottom of the ink pads. Okay, so now I've got that all blended, I'm taking another piece of white cardstock and an oval shape, and I've just gone ahead and cut that out to give me almost like a hill, and I'm just using one of my distress ink blending tools to add some blue along the edges, and you'll see that I stamped the sentiment "Let's Celebrate" from the stamp set right in the. So I've added double-sided foam tape all across the back of that hill, and I've stuck down my distress inked panel, and I'm just going to stick this on top. And then to finish off this card, I decided to use some of the stars. These are like cardboard shapes, so I thought they were sticky back when I first ordered them. They're not, but that's easy enough. You just go ahead and add some glue onto the back. And I'm just using some of those stars. These didn't come in the kit, but they were a recommended add-on. And I've got a few of the add-ons for this kit this month. Okay, so moving on to card 2, and I'm going to use the chameleon pen to colour in this bunny. So I stamped the bunny from the Mama Elephant Carnival Cupcake stamp set, and you can see here I've put the nib of the chameleon pen inside of the chamber, and if you hold it upright and you hold it for sort of however long you want really, so the longer you hold it, the lighter the colour gets. And then as you're colouring in, the pen will slowly change back to its original colour, which is this sky blue colour, and you can see that sort of round the edge of the bunny. So I'm colouring the centre with the lightest colour, and then as the colour gets brighter I'm colouring around the edges. And if I ever need to test what colour I've got before I go onto my paper, or if I need to scribble away some of that lighter colour and wait for it to get darker, then I'm just doing that at the edges. So I'm colouring this whole bunny in blue, and I used just the chameleon pen as I'm showing you here, and I just kept holding that upside down to get my lighter colour, just leaving it for a few seconds and then bringing that against the bunny. You can hold it for just a couple of seconds and you'll get sort of like a medium shade, or you can hold it for like 10-15 seconds and get a really light shade, and it will take a lot longer to blend back to the original colour. So I hope that makes sense. For small areas like this, you only need to hold the nib of the pen in the mixing chamber for a couple of seconds, and it will just lighten it up just enough to get some colour variance. So once I'd finished with my chameleon pen, I did go in and just add some pink using one of my Copics. You can these pens are compatible with any alcohol ink markers, so I did use some of the colours that I already had just to add some pink into the ears and onto the cheeks. So I covered my card base with this blue paper and trimmed off the excess, and then I've got this square die. I'm not too sure who this is by actually, I don't remember where I got it from, but I just cut that straight through the paper and the card base. I realised at this point that I really shouldn't have put my paper panel on top first, so I had to peel that up in order to enable me to put the little organza bag that came in the kit. I just cut the top off and I used that to make an organza window right through the front of my card. I'm just using my bone folder to reinforce the glue to make sure that sticks down really well. And then to outline that window, I'm just using some of the peel-offs. So once again, this is actually a technique that I recently saw Jennifer Maguire use. I think I'm using these 10 card 1 kits videos as an excuse to check out the latest techniques that I've seen other people do on YouTube and I've felt inspired by. So I used my coordinating dies to cut out the coloured in bunny and then also a plain white one just to hide any of the adhesive on the back of that organza. And I'm just going to stick that down in place. I think it looks really cute. I really like the effect of having that sort of see-through window but with the material there. I've now just added some glue onto some blue glittery cardstock from my stash that I've cut out using the Happy Birthday die. I do have more pictures of these cards on my blog, and you'll see in the recap at the end I did just go around that Happy Birthday with a white gel pen to make it pop just a little bit more. So onto card 3, I've got one of the Polaroid frames and I'm adding one of the vellum pieces to that frame so it looks sort of like a photograph. And I'm just deciding exactly where to place that so the right part of the image pops through. And then I'm going to go ahead and press that down and trim off the excess. I found that this Zig two-way glue pen works really well with vellum. It sticks quite quickly, if that makes sense, so the vellum doesn't slide around. Okay, so now I've gone ahead and added double-sided sticky tape onto my card base, and then I'm using this patterned paper, and again I'm just sticking that down and then trimming off the excess. And I've cut some of the parts of the video showing me cutting the excess away from the video because otherwise we'd be here all day. So I'm going to stamp the sentiment celebrate or celebration onto this. And I'm using my Misty for that just to make sure I get perfect placement. And I also used my Stays On ink because the Polaroid frame is quite slick, so I wanted to make sure that the ink dried nicely on that card. Okay, so I've added some of the sequins and then I changed my mind and decided I wanted to put them inside the Polaroid first so I could see just how many I needed to fill that space. And then I'm taking some of the sequin strands and I'm just pulling off some of each of the colours. So these sequins are really nice, they're really flat, they're not like cup sequins, and you can use them on the string or you can just go ahead and pull a couple of them off like I am here. And I'm using the white and the blue. I don't know if you can hear that, an ice cream van just pulled up outside. And then I'm also adding some of the red. And because I've already got gold in there, I'm not going to add any more of the gold, but I just think these flat sequins just add a nice little pop of extra colour. And then I tipped all of that back onto my card base, so a bit of toing and froing with this one. I don't really know why. I did that a lot when I was making these cards actually. I sort of did something one way and then I thought, oh, I shouldn't have done that, like sticking paper down too soon, and anyway. So I'm peeling off all of the backing and I've got a whole bunch of foam tape on there. I like to use a lot of glue and foam tape because I like to think that my cards are going to hold up really well when I post them, and also that they're going to stand the test of time if people keep them. So I'm just centering that where I want it and pressing down that foam tape, and they have a really cute little celebration birthday card. I think this is a really cool card because it could work for so many different occasions, and you could also go ahead and add an additional sentiment underneath the Polaroid. Okay, so for this card I've got some of the, I believe this is called Rick Rack. I did not know that until I watched Lizzie's video, but there we go. And I've added some thin double-sided tape. This is actually the tape from last month's kit, and I'm using that to essentially make this into a sticker. And then I'm just edging this star, so I'm sticking it down and then cutting at each of the corners or the points, and I worked my way around the star until it looked like this. I've then got another one of these cardboard pieces, and I'm actually using a fabric glue for this. So there's not an awful lot left in this tub, which is why you see me squeezing it so aggressively. But I've just squeezed some of the glue onto there, and I'm smoothing it out with my finger off camera at the moment. You can see there's some on the back of my hand, and then I'm just going to press that down in the centre. So I'm just going to set that to one side to dry while I again add some patterned paper to a card base. This card base is made using the red cardstock from the kit. And then I've trimmed that down, and I decided to add a vellum panel. So I just laid that down and outlined where I thought the star was going to cover up the glue, just so I could get some good placement of glue that would be hidden, and I also added some glue around the foiled sections. So again, I'm squeezing the life out of this fabric glue. I don't really know if it's necessary to use fabric glue for this project. I think you could use just a regular PVA, sort of a wet glue, or double-sided tape, but I had this on hand and I figured I might as well use it. I'm just smoothing that into the fabric, and then I'll flip it over and attach this star. I really like these like linen stars. I wasn't too sure what I was going to do with them, and there was 2 of them in the kit, I believe, so I've still got some left over. And then I have this little banner. This is again one of the chipboard pieces, and I'm going to stamp the Happy 4th of July sentiment. So obviously, being in the UK, we don't celebrate the 4th of July. It's obviously an American thing, and I figured since this card is very 4th of July themed, I'd have to make at least one 4th of July card, so I'll have to send this to one of my friends in the US. And but yeah, I think one thing that these 10 cards shows is that there are an awful lot of opportunities to make different types of cards. It's a very like celebratory kit. So I think for anyone else in the UK or anywhere else in the world who's got this kit, hopefully my videos can give you a little bit of inspiration. So I went ahead and added one of those blue foils, and that finished off the card. And then moving on with one of the yellow card bases, I'm sticking down the blue patterned paper with the stars, and I'm going to use these little pinwheels. So I've got a tiny hole punch, and I've just punched a hole in the centre of each of them, and then I'm poking a hole straight through my card. So again, this is one of those times where I realised I actually should have planned ahead a little bit. I don't plan my cards when I'm making my 10 cards 1 kit video. I just sort of start creating and cutting and see where I end up really. But I used these little split pins, and I poked them through the stars and then through the paper, and then just opened them out on the back. Now, had I have thought about this before I stuck down the blue patterned paper, I could have done this just on the patterned paper and then stuck that down to the card base so those split pins wouldn't show on the inside of the card base. But I didn't think about it. I could always take a piece of yellow cardstock and stick it on the inside, or even white cardstock just to cover up that area, but for now I've left it as it is. I think it's fine. So those little pinwheels will actually spin round, which I think is really cute, and I'll show you that at the end of the video. So I stamped Hooray onto the banner tag up at the top there, and then added some of my Nuvo drops from the kit, and I just put a little drop in the centre of some of those white hearts. And that's it. I kept it pretty simple for this card. Okay, so moving on to my next card. I love this card. I actually shared a sneak peek of it in the Love from Lizi Facebook group, so if you're in that group and you've seen it, then you already know what's coming. But here we go. This is my Captain America themed card. I think like a lot of people, as soon as I saw this kit, I thought of Captain America. So I googled Captain America, well, I actually googled cute Captain America colouring. So I was trying to find like a free colouring download that I could get and print. So it's a bit like buying a digi-stamp, only cheaper because it's free. So it's designed to be a colouring image for kids, and I just copied that and printed it out a few times, a couple of different sizes, and I coloured that in with my Copics and then fussy cut it and just went round the edges. Now the reason I did that, the reason I printed it a couple of different sizes, is I wanted this shield to be able to fit on top of the image perfectly. So before I went to the trouble of colouring it all in, I made sure I had one that was the right size, and then I'm just using some foam dots to stick it in place. Now I did just add glue on the top of my foam dots, and that's because these chipboard pieces are quite shiny, so I think they work better with a wet glue to stick them down. And then I went ahead and added this rosette in the top left hand corner. And I've left the rest of this card, oh well, I need to stick my minion down first of all. He is just so cute. But I left a space in the top right hand corner and the bottom left hand corner because I know that this is going to be a birthday card and I think I know who it's going to be for, but I just want to wait so I can stamp my birthday sentiment and then the age in the bottom corner when I finally make my mind up who it's going to. Okay, so on to my next card. This is another birthday card, and I used the craft cardstock, but I trimmed it down so it would fit behind this vellum panel. So this is just a mini card, and before I stick the vellum down, I'm going to go ahead and use this yellow paper with the red stars. So I've got something showing through the back of the vellum. Again, I used the Happy Birthday die from the Love from Lizi website. This was again a recommended add-on. And I cut that out in black, and then I'm using actually a black Wink of Stella. So Wink of Stella comes in a whole load of different colours. I just have clear and black. So for absolutely everything I use the clear, and you could use the clear on the black as well. I don't really know why I bought the black, but I did, so I'm going to use it. And I've just coloured that over the top of the black cardstock to make it a nice glittery accent piece. So I put a couple of coats on there, and then it really just made it sparkle. So I couldn't decide with this piece if I wanted to stick it down directly on the card or if I wanted to stick it behind the vellum, but you'll see me sort of trying to figure that out in just a second. But in the end I decided that after I'd added all of that sparkle and shine, I'd go ahead and stick it at the front rather than the inside. Okay, so I've stuck that down, and then I'm again using my Zig two-way glue pen, and I'm just applying little bits of glue where the foil is and also where that sentiment is, because I know that it will be hidden when I press this down and you won't be able to see that glue. So I made sure, well, I tried to make sure the card was facing the right way, and then as I was doing this I realised, hold on, I'm pretty sure I made a top folding note card, so I just switched that round off camera. So then just to finish this off, I've got a couple of those red sequins. These were again taken from the strand of sequins that came in the kit, and I just pulled a couple of them off, and I'm just using my quick stick pick me up tool to place those sequins exactly where I want them. You kind of feel like you're doing some kind of card surgery, not like card surgery when things go wrong and you have to try and fix it, but like, I don't know, it kind of feels like an operation having all these different tools in your hand. Maybe that's just me. Okay, so moving on to the next card. I love this piece of patterned paper. It reminds me of the circus. I kind of wanted to run away with the circus when I was younger, so yeah, it just made me happy. I lined up my card base on the background to figure out where the centre was, and then I just cut out that piece so the centre of that sort of cluster was right in the middle of my card. Starburst, is that what the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Anyway, this lion is from the same stamp set that I used earlier, the Mama Elephant Carnival Cupcake stamp set, and I've cut that out using a circle punch and then a scalloped circle punch. And then I've got my Zig glue again, and I'm using another like starburst pattern, but this time in vellum, and I'm laying that down over top just to add a little bit more interest to the card. And then I'm using some 3D foam dots to attach the lion to the patterned scallop piece. And then I didn't want this to be too thick, so I wanted to make sure I could send it through the post. Speaking of which, I'm making 10 cards a month with the Love from Lizi kits. I'm also making some other cards here and there, so I've got quite a stash built up, and I'd love to send some of my cards out. So if you're watching this video and you're enjoying this video, leave me a comment below, and if you would be happy to share your address, not in the comment where anyone can see it, but leave the comment below and I'll contact a couple of you to see about sending you a card. Okay, so I stuck that down to a yellow card base. I got glue all over my hand in the process, but there we go, it's card making, it gets a bit messy sometimes. And then I stamped the celebration sentiment in the bottom right hand corner. And that is that card finished. So moving on to the next card, I decided to do some more heat embossing. This time I'm working directly on my card base, and I'm stamping first of all the banner in Versamark, and I have prepped all this cardstock with my anti-static powder tool. I just cut that out the video. And then I'm stamping the fireworks. Now I did go right over the top of where the banner is, but I figured that's okay because, you know, the banner would be, you know, the banner and the firework, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. In my head it worked, and visually I think it looks fine. So I've stamped a few of those fireworks, and then I used, again, just some white, detailed white embossing powder. And I keep it stored in a tub like this, just my white, my clear, and also my black, even though I very rarely use black embossing powder. I'd rather just use clear on top of black ink, but I store those particular colours in a tub so I can use them really easily like this. So I heat set that with my heat gun, and I also heated the back because I did warp my cardstock just a little bit. And then I'm using again this blue patterned paper with the stars on it, and this is just some of the leftovers from one of my other cards, and I'm sticking that down towards the left hand side, and then I'm just going to run the peel offs along the edge. So I think I've mentioned this in a video before. I really wasn't a fan of the idea of peel offs. I kind of thought they were maybe a bit old school, maybe a bit cheap. I don't know, I prejudged them before trying them. I thought, you know, I don't really think that's for me. I'd seen them in shops and deliberately not bought them, but when they came in the kits, I actually really love them. I'm completely converted, so I've actually bought quite a few of them from Lizi, and yeah, big fan. So if anyone else has got any prejudgments of foil peel-offs, I'd say definitely give them a try. So I'm using some wet glue here just to hold down a ribbon on top of one more of these chipboard pieces, and I'm going to hold that in place with my tweezers while it dries. And then I've got another chipboard piece, this little banner that I'm sticking in the top. Oh, and I forgot to mention I did add some twine. This twine is just some from my own stash, and I just added that into the chipboard piece to make it like a little hanging tag on the card. So once I'm happy with where that's placed, I'm going to go ahead and run a thin line of glue from the tag up to the top of the card, and that will just hold the string in place. And then, little tips, oh, there's my head. So you obviously don't want the twine to like fray after you've cut it, so if you just add a tiny dab of glue at the very ends and then just flatten that down with your finger or wipe any of the excess off with your finger, you'll end up with a sort of sealed end to the twine. So then I'm using my Versamark again, and I'm just using this paper as a little mask, and I'm stamping the sentiment "Party Time" over and over in the background, and I'm actually not going to emboss this, I'm just using it as a watermark effect. So this is my last card, super excited. I got some Distress Oxides, really excited about it. This was my very first time using them, and I'm just going ahead and sponging on some colour onto craft cardstock, and the best thing about it is you can see the colour. It looks beautiful on top of craft cardstock. It is different to Distress ink, it's a different formulation, it's got different properties, and it's got sort of, I don't know, like a creamy colour. It's sort of almost like more dreamy, if that makes sense, and it reacts beautifully with water, so hopefully I'll get a chance to do a video showing you some more information as part of my Crafting 101 series. So I'm just going ahead and inking up through that circle, and to make this circle mask I just cut a circle out of some copy paper and just held that over the top of a card base. But how beautiful is that? Do you see what I mean about the colours just being really like dreamy? I don't know, I hope I'm making sense. So I bought another one of the recommended add-ons. I was loving the add-ons this month. And this is the little rocket, and it's a die. I cannot speak today. It's a die set, and it comes with a rocket, a star, and a moon. And I cut these out of some black glitter cardstock, and I think if I remember rightly, this glitter cardstock is actually from one of the previous Love from Lizi kits. So this was some that I had left over, and I used a whole load of it on this card. So I've got the glittery rocket. I then used my Happy Birthday sentiment, which again I am just loving. and I added a strip of the black cardstock on the left hand side there just to tie in the colours. And I just pressed all of that down. This glitter does not come off on your hands. It's incredible. It's like a really deep black glitter and it doesn't come off. So then I stamped the Let's Celebrate sentiment just underneath the happy birthday, and that is that card finished. Is it finished? No, it's not finished. I'm lying completely. So I used the star to cut out some foam and make a stamp. So I could have gone ahead and tried to find a star stamp, but I really liked this particular star, so I cut it out of some foam and I just used some temporary adhesive to glue it onto my acrylic block, and then just stamped that over and over using Versamark. And then I've got the Perfect Pearl coloured Perfect Pearls, and I'm just pouncing that all over where the Versamark is with a dry brush, and it will stick to the Versamark and just leave these like really beautiful pearlized stars in the background. I think it's really nice, and all you need to do to set that in place is once you've pounced everything down and then rubbed away any of the excess, which is what I'm doing just now, you go ahead and just spritz some water in the air and like swipe your card through it. I don't know, almost like how you'd spray perfume and then walk through it. So I was a bit extreme with my water on this card. You definitely don't need that much. You just spritz a little spritz in the air and swipe the card through, and that holds it all in place. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed my 10 cards 1 kit video. If you have, please let me know in the comments section and click like, and if you haven't already, please do hit subscribe. As I mentioned earlier, I'd love to send some of these cards out to you. I love to send cards, love to receive cards. Don't always do it as much as I would like to, so if you would like to receive a card from me, please leave a comment below. Let me know which card was your favourite, and that you'd like to be considered to receive a card, and I'll contact a couple of you and send some of these cards out. So I'm pretty sure I say this every month, but if you are on Facebook and you haven't joined the Love from Lizi Facebook group, I have it linked in the description below. It's just a really nice community of crafters who share their projects, they can ask questions, get feedback. It's just a really nice place to share your cards. It can be a little bit lonely sometimes, card making and paper crafting, so if you don't have anyone in your area near you that you can share your hobby with, then find some friends online who you can show your card to them, and they'll get it. They'll know how many hours you've put into it, how excited you are to have a new stamp set, or how excited you are to have a new product. I showed my boyfriend my Distress Oxide inks, and he was like, don't you already have those? So yeah, sometimes you need like-minded people because they just get it. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. And on screen right now you can see a couple more videos from me that I think you might enjoy. If you haven't already watched them, then go ahead and click on the thumbnails, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Bye for now.